Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. So, Bismillah, please. How
Good.
are you, brother? Fine?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah. So, warmly welcome to all of you with this important training session, the firefighting at this first stage. Then we'll start electrical safety and few more.
Okay.
Firefighting is becoming more and more critical subject. By the way, the reason is a lot of fire incidents are still happening, especially in the developing countries. That is why this subject is becoming more and more important, not for only for the firefighters, even for every individual in the company to understand, how they can help each other to avoid fire incidents. So uh, I'll just ask a very simple question, but of course, some highlights from your experience. As per your experience, what do you think? What are the real root causes of fire accidents or incidents or injuries or near? As per your experience, not the bookish knowledge. Bookish knowledge is everywhere, but I'm talking to your experience. And if I calculate in the room how much experience, maybe more than 100 years experience sitting in this room, right? We are talking to each other. So let's learn, let's share our experience. Anybody voluntarily can add value here. What are the real root causes of fire accidents or incidents? Go ahead, please. You can unmute yourself. Your participation, your active contribution is really important to make it more effective, the two-way communication. Otherwise, I'll be speaking and the time will come, you'll be fed up only by listening. What are the real root causes of fire accidents or incidents? Yes, please. Mr. Asif?
Yes, brother.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
as per your experience, what do you think? Why still fire accidents are happening? What is the real root cause, as per your understanding?
Oh, the fire is because lack of knowledge. The main thing is thing.
Is
It's
the lack
my
of knowledge?
because mostly things, mostly guys, mostly technicians, mostly teams. They are not professionals, and they don't know how to tackle the thing, tackle the situation, and secondly, the most important thing, they don't care about the safety. They did not follow the safety measures. So this is the problem which we are facing for most of the real cause of fire on the side or any on the side or any working activities. We are facing this thing due to the non-technical teams, non-trained teams, and non-compliance of safety measures. So from my point of view, this is the 3 points.
Mhm. Absolutely right. But ultimately, if our employees are lacking knowledge or they're lacking self-realization or they are becoming
Yes.
careless, not following safety rules and regulations, so it's a leadership failure also.
Yes, I am agree with you. Yes.
So let's accept the fact if my employees are taking shortcuts, if they are not helping us to avoid fire incidents, because safety is a common sense. Everybody knows, what can go wrong if I'll be violating any sort of safety rule. Or like the welder and the painter, both are very much familiar what is going in the air and how things could be out of control, especially if the project belongs to the confined spaces actually. So sometimes knowledge is there, but human errors, negligence, carelessness, and sometimes no toolbox meeting with one point agenda. That today our one point agenda to discuss is only how we can avoid shortcuts or how we can make ourselves self-realization. Just today's objective is only self-realization. We are not going to discuss anything else. We'll be discussing that janitor to general manager, everyone is responsible for safety. Everyone is responsible as a safety manager of their own area. Then they'll take care of housekeeping. They'll not let things happen. Any broken switches, they'll report on time. Any damage wires, they'll definitely report on time because they realized. And to make them realize, we need strong, effective leadership skills. The leaders have to be change ambassadors. In other words, they must try to convince each individual and make sure everybody is well trained and certified. And especially for the firefighters, no, it's not like only the responsibility of the firefighters to help and not to spread that fire within the company. Even every individual, even as a trainer, I'm convincing to the companies, train every individual at least how to use the fire extinguisher, at least for that particular one subject. And don't hire us as a third party training institute. You train them, because it will help you. Like in America, through American Heart Association, they guided 2 steps, how to call 911, like reporting emergencies, and how to push harder and faster in the middle of the chest. So they are saving a lot of lives actually. So same way, if we train our people how to use fire extinguisher or how to identify the fire hazards, the job is done. The job is done because they'll definitely take care of, rather than giving every day a lot of reminders or blame shame, in other words, God forbid. But we just need to motivate them. So motivation and motivation, because we are human beings. Now, as per my experience for the last 19 years, I completed one project in Michigan State, USA. And intentional and unintentional human errors, we proved, are avoidable, are preventable. Intentional and unintentional human errors can also be prevented, but it's required a lot of innovation, a lot of technology need to be evolved, and a lot of standards to be benchmarked. And then the sensorization, the safety devices, the area to be, the 360-degree solutions in that context to make sure our machines are not going to kill our people actually, and not going to damage anyway to any other, even our goodwill, our business, the environment. Everything is preventable in a context of innovation and technology you are using. That's why Saudi Aramco, Saudi Electricity, Sadara, Sabic, Royal Commission, all are started thinking about artificial intelligence, robotic technology, eliminating human manpower from the high hazardous processes, where we can't rely on human, because the first line of defense in high hazardous process, we can't rely on human beings, but we can make them the last line of defense in that context to make sure they are helping and they understand, rather than putting them in front of such a restricted or danger zones. There is a line of fire for everything, right? That is why plenty of root causes we can discuss here, like the carelessness, shortcuts, lack of knowledge, no self-realization. Safety is the responsibility of only safety department, not mine. Also, I do agree the poor planning, poor preparation, poor leadership, in other words, plenty of reasons, poor tools and equipment, poor electrical wiring, and the poor design of our machines, buildings, and the site layout even. This design safety is becoming more and more important nowadays. Instead of doing or following reactive approach, now the companies are getting very much proactive. So before they start constructing a building, they start realizing how many safety standards they have to incorporate within the design phase and make sure it is well executed. And 95% you can save or you can avoid fire incidents in the design safety. Like if a building is designed for 100 years, then the wires you are using for electric wiring and all that, the age should be 150 years. But if the age is 10 years and you are using this wire in a building which is designed for 100 years, so disaster after 10 years or after 15 years. And it's really hard to change all the wires again, because nobody, the suppliers, the contractors, we all know how they are playing with the lives of our people, you know. So design safety is another solution to prevent. So prevention is better than cure. Rather than having more and more firefighters, no doubt it's our need. But the first thing is to prevent from fire. Prevention, protection, and firefighting. I repeat again, first we have to ensure fire prevention system. That must be fully implemented, you know, to prevent from fire. Rather than waiting for the fire incidents, we try to minimize the chances of fire incidents. And that minimization can only be done through fire prevention systems. And then you rely on fire protection system. You have plenty of fire alarms or smoke detectors, sprinklers, plenty of fire extinguishers even. And ultimately, you need a firefighting team as well, with the well-trained. It's a very technical training, by the way, but still I'll try my level best to share some videos and having some practical discussions, you know, how to use fire extinguisher, how to use fire hoses and several things just to make this training more effective. But in that context, bear in mind this few pictures I'll highlight, which will give you some idea how sometime, and here no lack of knowledge. Everybody knows the overextension boards or over usage of an extension board, overload on any extension board would be dangerous, you know. Especially that is why plenty of incidents are happening in employees' accommodations, you know, several, because everybody have charger, laptops, and no time to buy new extensions actually. No extension board, the same one they are trying to use and have no idea what can go wrong. Housekeeping, poor set and order, poor housekeeping, poor set and order, no standardization is another reason. Accumulation of different waste coming together, hazardous, non-hazardous, you know, flammable, non-flammable, mixing together. Again, you are creating more probability or chances of fire incidents. And sometimes, yes, the behavior, the mindset of our employees, sometimes the unsafe conditions. So the human, and we all are human beings, you know. I can manage maybe 10,000 machines more easily, but managing 1,000 different brains is one of the most difficult job in the world, because everyone is different and everyone is not emotionally so much intelligent also. You never know how people can react. Like here, you have fire exit, but they love to keep it blocked. They know it's a hard hat area, but they don't want to wear it. They know the smoke, no smoking signage is there, but still they love to smoke because might be no supervisor, no safety officer is watching them. And by the way, you can't watch them 24 hours, you know, or 8 hours, 12 hours shift. It's hard to watch them every second. That's why self-realization to making them responsible, your safety, your responsibility. It's all game of best practices to ensure. Make every area like a role model, then you reduce the chances of fire incidents. Firefighting, I can train in 10 minutes, but I'm adding value to this training to make it in a bigger perspective to help, to motivate you guys to help your companies, you know. Anywhere you move around, and if you see any chance of a fire, just report them, you know, or any unsafe fact, unsafe condition, or any electrical hazard or fire hazard you observe, just simply inform to the concerned supervisor. You know. It's a great help. It's a teamwork. Now we are in position to discuss what is fire. It's not hiring and firing. It's only the fire. So we all know it's a combination of oxygen, heat, and fuel, and of course a chemical reaction. Okay. So what is the best idea for firefighting fighting with fire, at least one element we need to remove, right? Either you remove oxygen or heat or fuel, at least you have to break this triangle. Fire wouldn't be there anymore. But sometimes it's not easy. But what exactly you can do to have a better control around three elements and not to meeting them together and putting a fire somewhere in a company's, God forbid. Because sometimes, the owners, the employees, they are sleeping at home, and within the whole night, the company is burned out. And the reason later on found the electrical, the joints were there. So because of overload, because of less load, because of short circuit, the whole company is burned out. And if there is no insurance, big loss. Everything we can regain, guys. But what about the human lives? No contingency plan, especially for our families. We are the only heroes for our family, right? So safety is our own necessity. That is what we need to motivate our all employees. Guys, this is your own necessity. We are not giving you training just for the sake of Saudi Aramco to show them the piece of paper that our people are certified. That is one way our business need. But in fact, safety is our own necessity. And we are blessed, somebody from the safety department still supporting us, arranging trainings for us. We are lucky enough to have all the PPs, provided by the company management. We have Saudi Aramco, all the policies, procedures, well structured. We just need to understand and implement. As a consultant, we charge a lot of money. It's not, and how much money Aramco would have paid to the consultants, just to develop the system, all their policies, procedures, forms, and several things. You name any material, any process, any activity of Saudi Aramco, there is a back end complete system. But do we have time to understand that system and implement? Because after all, effective implementation is a key. The training what I'm giving, even you can take from the YouTube actually. Everything is there. But the experience what we all have, of course, everybody is not writing a book. So we can learn from our experiences and add value. What can go wrong if the project belongs to the confined space and it's a hot work? How a smallest unsafe fact or any smallest reason could be catastrophic, God forbid. The different scenarios, and that scenario based discussion can only be done based on experience. That is why I'm motivating, don't stop yourself to share your experience. No, my question is, you are in a room. Let's create a scenario. You're in a room, you're in your office, but no fire extinguisher, no fire blanket, okay, no water available, but there is a small fire in the corner. I repeat again, there is no fire extinguisher, no fire blanket, no water. You didn't wear even the safety shoes. You didn't wear even any jacket or any safety, but you are the only one available in that room. And there is a small fire. If you will not act properly or you will not handle this fire, everything could be in danger. So the question arises, what you will do in that situation? Will you run away or you'll find a way out? What would be your best strategy, the safest one? But ultimately, you are not going to sacrifice your safety. That should be your first priority. Any one of you can add value with this scenario. I repeat again, there is no fire extinguisher, no fire blanket, no jackets, nothing. no water is available, but a small fire in the corner of that office, what would be your action? What would be your strategy to handle that fire? I'm just sharing a very small, simple scenario. There are a lot of technical scenarios, but I'm just sharing the simplest one. And let me see how you respond to it. Yes, please. Any one of you.
Yes.
Yes, please. What would be your strategy?
Only I found the small fire. I check in at the water.
No, but water is not there.
Clothes or any clothes put it up or
Mhm. Go ahead.
yes. If not water,
Uh-huh.
out exit. What doing?
Okay.
No exit, but I try. I try for think clothes or another. I see what doing.
Okay. So the challenge is we have to remove one element, because look at the slide. The challenge
Yes.
is to remove one of the element to break this triangle.
Yes.
So in that context, since it's a small,
Contact the nine. Contact in 911.
okay, you'll call 911.
Or check the any water near me or anything. This is small.
It's a small fire, but if you
Yes.
do not react in seconds or minutes, then it will be spread up like a wildfire.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Okay, let me be more specific. The fire is belong to some papers. Some papers are burning. You got my point? The fire means only some papers are burning there. So what is the best strategy?
Yes.
As quick as possible, try hard to move all other fuel. Don't give more fuel to that, and let those papers to, because you don't have water, you don't have any fire blanket, no fire extinguisher, no smoke, this kind of sprinklers, nothing is there. So in that context, what is the best strategy? Just to ensure your safety and move, because we have to break this triangle, and either you play with oxygen to remove in, or the heat, or the fuel. In that context, oxygen is hard to remove because you don't have anything to cover. If you cover that fire, of course, no more oxygen means no more fire, but that option is not there. So what you can do is remove the fuel, the rest of the fuel, let those papers, and it's a common sense, within 1 minute all papers will be burned out, little smoke, and rest of the fuels didn't add value, no more expansion of fire. So you somehow handle the situation. And why you handled? Because you couldn't let yourself panic. You were not a confused mind, but an intelligent mind, emotionally intelligent gentleman, and saved the whole company or everything, all properties. But there are plenty of scenarios. Practically, we have to share with our employees to train them, to guide them, and then they will be playing their role for sure. Now, how are we gonna respond to, the first thing is the rescue, then is the alarm, then contain or extinguish. So race. Race is the important word to bear in mind. Rescue, alarm, contain, and extinguish. Once you will remove the other fuel, basically you are containing that fire, not let that fire to spread any other areas, you know. So you keep it contained into that area. Otherwise, you extinguish. You take the fire extinguisher and you follow the pass process. We call it pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. If somebody asks you how to use fire extinguisher, tell it's simple. We need to follow the pass. The word, the 4 steps of pass. That means pull the pin. If you see the picture, pull the pin, aim at the fire, squeeze. You need to press the handle and then sweep. You know, sweep like this, but at the bottom of the fire, not in the middle, not at the top, from the bottom. You create a layer, and of course, you have to be very much sure about the wind direction. Okay, what is the wind direction? And the distance from the fire, because your safety must be your first priority, even as a firefighter. Even as a firefighter, your safety must be your top priority, you know. Now, this one, if you have any fire extinguisher available in your office, you can have a look into it. Where is that pin? So the first step is to pull the pin, but don't pull it, because just I'm sharing practically, like you can see that fire extinguisher available already in your office. Aim the extinguisher hose or nozzle at the bottom of the fire. So at the bottom of the fire. Then squeeze the handle means you need to press it. If you'll not pull the pin, squeezing process will not be happening, you know. So for squeezing, we surely have to pull the pin and then make sure you sweep it slowly back and forth, covering the entire fire with extinguishing some substances, you know. Now, this is important to understand because different types of fires are there, different classes of fires are there. So accordingly, we have to choose which fire extinguisher would be better here. Like if the fire is because of electricity, can we use water? Of course not. And sometimes we do terrible mistakes. The fire because of cooking oil and we're putting more water. Sometimes because of electric short circuit and we are using water. We are giving more conductive material to this electricity, you know, to be more harmful, God forbid. So there are 5 classes of fire: class A, class B, C, D, and K. What is important for us to understand, any fire because of like combustible materials such as paper, wood, and cloth, just we need to remember it falls in class A category, you know. And if it is B, class B, that's all relevant to fire involving flammable or combustible liquids, flammable gases, petroleum gases, and similar materials. That's all fall under class B. Then there is a class C, that's means from the energized electrical equipment such as computer, electric oven, fire, etc., may be caused by short circuiting machinery or overloaded electrical cables. So that's a class C. Then there is a class D. Again, combustible metals are there: lithium or magnesium or potassium or sodium or titanium or zirconium, you know. So these are some of the metals, combustible metals, and that's all falls under D. Now, according to the class, which fire extinguisher we have to use, we are going to discuss in the next slide. Class K, fire involving cooking oils and fats. Normally, you know, this class K, if you don't have a kitchen or so, normally it's not a very much big risk. But if you have a kitchen inside your office or even at your site somewhere, surely you have to understand the class K also, how to fight with that. Now, This is the most important slide I can claim, because here you have to bear in mind and remember, for class A fire, which type of extinguishing agent or extinguisher you have to use. For class A fire, no harm to use the water, because it will reduce the heat in fire. So no sufficient heat, no fire, no more fire actually. So what you are doing, you are breaking that triangle, the heat, fuel, and oxygen. So sometimes you are removing heat, no more fire. Sometimes you are removing oxygen, again no more fire. If you have a lighter, I don't know either you are a smoker or not, but if you have a lighter, just put your hand up. That means you are stopping the oxygen. And now you click several times, there wouldn't be any fire, because you stop, you block, you eliminated the oxygen. No supply of oxygen. So fire will not start. Even heat was there. You are putting heat again and again, creating a spark. And even the fuel is there inside petrol, already is there within your lighter. So now remove your hand, don't put your hand at the lighter. Now just make sure if there is no fuel, even you click and oxygen is there, heat is there, still no fire. So this triangle have to meet together and create a chemical reaction, then of course the fire would be there. So class A, we can use water. And what is class A? In the previous slide, I hope you remember, any fire belongs to paper, cloth, or some wood even, but we can use water. Now dry chemical for class A, B, and C can be used, because it will definitely disturb the chemical reaction in a fire. So ultimately the goal is, whatever extinguishing medium relevant to the class of fire we are using, the purpose is it should be successfully applied and there shouldn't be any fire, because we have to remove this fire, then the property can be saved, then the the employees could also be safe. Otherwise, if that control is not happening, and you believe as a firefighter, the fire you can't manage anymore because it's spread very fastly, then go to the muster point, and already you have to inform 911, like emergency services. So then the from the government side, if you are working with Saudi Aramco, their fire fighting department, of course, their emergency response teams along with the firefighters, they'll start reacting on it and will support, to your company for this particular fire safety process actually. Now, carbon dioxide class B and C, because it will displace oxygen. So no oxygen means no fire, but make sure it is not preferred. You have to remember, it is not preferred to use an electrical equipment. This carbon dioxide we can use for class B and C. Now there is another one, foam, AFFF class B, oil fires class A. That means form the layer of foam and oil surface, so oxygen air is restricted to reach fuel. This is what we can use for class B, like oil fires. Dry powder you will see mostly, we call it multi-purpose as well. So like multi-purpose, even this dry chemical ABC, if you see in the second row, but this dry powder specifically designed for class D fire, means the fire belong to the metals, that could be managed through dry powder. Otherwise, for the wet chemical, we use wet chemical for class K and A. Chemical reacts with fat to form a soapy foam blanket. I'll share some videos and that will give you some practical insights what I'm talking about, and how different types of fires are being managed by using different extinguishing medium. We can make chart like this and put somewhere on our notice boards, so it will help people to understand, for which type of fire, what type of fire extinguisher or the extinguishing media they have to use. Okay. Now, what are the key responsibilities of the firefighters. It's a very quick kind of reaction, if somebody report that there is a fire, if somebody is not reporting, the system should report. That is why we have heat detectors, smoke detectors, we have fire alarm system, locations and zones are divided. So our system, our panel board, fire panel will tell us, it will start blinking, and even the sound is there. So we can find the location quite easily, in which zone number, in which particular office number this issue is arised. So the firefighters can directly go there. If that location is not easily traceable, then it will be too late, God forbid. That is why our addressable fire alarm system should be in place. I repeat again, our addressable fire alarm system should be in place and fully active. Sometimes we have it, but our fire alarm is not giving the correct messages, or maybe no maintenance. You have an outside third party company, but they're not doing their job the way it should be. And ultimate, your system is not responding in case of emergencies, because you need to know immediately the location. In which location, because according to the smoke detector, automatically it will catch some smoke, some heat, maybe if it is in kitchen, automatically the alarm will be ringing, and then that fire alarm panel should highlight the location. If it is not highlighting, or highlighting incorrectly, the whole system would be in trouble, because finding the location of the fire incident and every second is critical. In that context, we truly have to bear in mind that respond to fire alarms quickly to regulate the extinguished fires and even the building fires, operate firefighting and rescue equipment such as aerial ladders, even axes, even fire hoses, provide emergency medical services with compliance to established standards. So there are different teams: firefighters, fire wardens, sometimes fire marshals we have separately, fire safety committee is there, emergency response team is separate, and on the other side we have security team members. So it's a joint team effort to handle a situation, but not always. Sometimes only an ordinary employee, he knows how to use fire extinguisher, and he manage that fire, but it should be reported. All fire, minor or major incidents, must be reported, investigated, and corrective preventive actions must be taken, genuinely. This is how we keep momentum of our continual improvement. Okay, so accurate reports is important, and make sure you clean and maintain personal equipment, keep it ready for use. Sometimes you have fire extinguisher, but the needle is in red. Now, if you have different fire extinguisher, wherever you are moving around, just check the needle is in green zone or in the red area. There is a gauge on fire extinguishers mostly, so you can have a look into it. Otherwise, look at the inspection tag, like what is the refilling date mentioned by the third party contracting company. So no harm to support your company even in fire inspections. Participate in fire drills as a way to stay alert and up to date with job duties. Practice makes them imperfect, right? So there must be some fire evacuation drills, firefighting drills. So practice, practice, and practice. And whenever you believe the fire extinguishers are ready to refilling, or you are going to send for refilling, have a firefighting drill. So use that powder, use that extinguisher to train your employees, and then later on send for refilling it. But make sure you have a backup. Sometimes two sets are there. One is going for filling, the other you are putting on the walls again. So you don't leave the area empty without fire extinguishers. So there must be some fire watches, but that fire watches, of course, we use for the spot management. Like if any hot work is going on and you are working especially with the Saudi Aramco projects, then fire watcher is mandatory. Even in the work permit, you have to agree who will be the fire watcher, what is the ID, and the name or something like that. but make sure that fire watcher is there, and he must be well trained, especially how to use fire extinguisher, how to ensure housekeeping all around, and making sure, have an understanding any expected ignition sources, how to manage them. And he will not let keep any flammable materials nearby this hot work, maybe up to 35 feet, or more than that. He will not let anybody to put any flammable material within that area, because, and especially if the project belong to the confined space, which is already a terrible red zone, because smallest mistake and hard to get the second chance. That's why we need fire watchers. So they are the spot responders. A small fire is coming out from the welding process, they'll use fire extinguisher. Any hot work is going on, we need a fire watcher, and fire watchers and firefighters on the same project. Sometimes people are using the same, but it is recommended the firefighting team should be entirely separate. The fire watchers, of course, for the hot works and for fire safety inspections, of course we can use them. Same way, some companies have separate fire wardens, and they help in evacuations, they help in fire inspections, and several other things. So firefighters, fire watchers, and fire wardens. Choice is yours. Or if you're serving to Saudi Aramco or Saudi Electricity, like if you're serving to Saudi Electricity, so you must be familiar about their 5-star safety program, and then accordingly you see what is the criteria. You need how many fire wardens, how many fire watchers, or the firefighters, or all three could be one. That's all you need to understand the requirements of your customer. How to call 911. It's not like only the fire watcher, even every employee of your company must be trained in emergency reporting, like how to call 911. They must be trained enough. So fire wardens, like I told, they help you to evacuate and make sure no one is left inside. They're responsible for head count also. They have a fire safety plan for their respective building or site. No harm to have a safety committee, and make sure there are some leaders, fire team leaders, fire wardens, and fire watchers. They'll be under fire team leaders. And of course, the supportive department, you need security, telephone operators, and the firefighting team. That means you. So fire wardens and fire watchers and firefighting team. And why we all need to make sure our interested parties, our stakeholders, especially our employees, contractors, and visitors, they are safe. If I'm coming to your site, my safety, no doubt, is my responsibility. But since I'm your guest, so you also have to play some role. Maybe you will give me induction, telling me the restricted areas, and guiding me that these are the areas you are not allowed to go, and don't go anywhere without one of our employee, or without a guide. Actually, don't go in any area, because I'm the visitor. You are living there 8 hours, working 12 hours every day. So you know much better than me about your site. How many restricted areas are there? What are the line of fires you have defined? So, but I need that induction. In case of emergency, to whom I need to report, where are the muster points, where are the restricted areas or the prohibited areas. As a visitor, I'm not allowed to go there. So all these things must be part of my induction program, the safety induction. And sometimes we miss that one also, because since I'm the safety auditor as well, so several times I personally noted they don't give induction yet, but the guys are already on site. Fire prevention is better than firefighting. Or firefighting means you are waiting for the fire incidents or something happened. No, surely you have to fight. You have no other option, right? But prevention is important. So how you can prevent from fire? Make sure you are managing the major causes of industrial fires, like combustible materials, electrical problems. You need to reduce them 100%. might be could be challenging, but at least you try every day to make sure no electrical issues are there. Heat and ignition sources are well identified and controlled also, and machinery and smoking, like no smoking policy must be well published, especially within your company premises, especially in confined spaces is zero tolerance policy, no smoking at all. And there must be some safe smoking areas, you know, and that should be used by the smokers. Firstly, you must discourage, you know, or encourage them to leave this smoking habit. But if you believe they'll not leave, then make sure you deploy or you designate an area as a smoking area for the employees. You know, the ultimate challenge is to remove one of the element of this triangle, either oxygen, heat, or fuel. Fire risk assessment should be done through your safety department. Some companies they started hiring, you know, the fire specialist separate, or fire safety engineer, same like process safety engineers, because it's an engineering job as well. Like we have a safety officer, but he's mostly busy in documentation, inspection, and all that. But we need the people who are having some engineering background, so they'll go more deeper to understand the process and the root causes, and proactively they'll be putting some plan, you know. So the fire risk assessment should be done through engineers along with the concerned department heads, even by involving the employees. It's not like something I'm the safety professional and I'll be doing everything, and no need of involvement of any other gentleman here. It shouldn't be one man show. If you are doing risk assessment, it should be a teamwork rather than doing by yourself. But what exactly we need for fire risk assessment? It's a process of gathering the informations, like all the informations about the BOQ. Like in my case, I start, like if there is a building and I need to go for fire risk assessment, I'll ask where is the BOQ, bill of quantity, whatever material you have used, either they are flammable, non-flammable, as per which international standard you purchase them, how many incidents previously are happened, God forbid, within the same building, any fire incident. So I'll collect the data, I'll check the history, I'll ask several questions, and I'll get, you know, the complete data of that building, and then we'll try to start my risk assessment process with more practical intention, you know. Then fire hazard identification, I would have the site around, maybe the building, every nook and corner I'll be visiting and find out, and might be your fire hazard identification, some checklist and all that. That would also be another element, but it should be part of information gathering. Like information gathering means where they are today and how they are managing, how they are conducting this fire risk assessment. Then you go for fire hazard identification, then you evaluate and make sure, you know, you identify the red zone areas, which are the issues have more probability to be the reason of a fire incident. So you start controlling those areas first, and of course it's a game of implementation. Once your plan is ready, all controls you have decided, now implement those controls and make sure you have a periodic review as well. And this is how, as a fire safety management system, you try to have some policies, procedures, different kind of controls, precautions well implemented. And bear in mind, implementation can never be effective until you train people. So training, training, and training, sometimes even refresh training, you know, because you are implementing, you are going to implement. And how many systems are there? Like firefighting, the fire safety management system, fire prevention system, then you have waste management system, your shop floor management system, that means your full housekeeping standardization and all that, and plenty of environmental management systems. So it's a combination of different management systems well implemented, and this is how you are supporting and making sure the less chances of fire incidents. So it's a teamwork. That is why at the start I mentioned safety is the responsibility of every individual, janitor to general manager. No one can deny that I'm not responsible for safety. There is a terrible misconception in the market that safety is the responsibility of only the safety department. While they are only supportive department, they will guide you, they will give you the material, they'll arrange training for you, supporting you to get the right set of PPs, having some risk assessment along with your cooperation. So they are a supportive department, not kind of a policing department and creating, the only the threats beyond. But of course, once the trainings are done, implementation is ensured. Now, for maintainability and sustainability, fine policy is still working well, especially in Saudi Arabia. Let me give you a live example. Like Saudi government, we all know, once they put 3,000 real, the crossing the red signal, 3,000 real fine. Who is having that daring mind to cross? So they gave a money punch because they know it's kind of they are valued. People really are sensitive about the money, so put more heavy fine. Not for the sake of making money, but to give us motivation and make us realize, don't cross that line of fire. Don't cross the red signal. Otherwise, be ready for 3,000 real, and it's a heavy punch, by the way. If your salary is if the driver's salary is 2,000 real, and God forbid there is a punch for 3,000 real, he will never repeat this mistake, inshallah. Granted. Same way, after detailed implementation, proper trainings, proper resources, now this is the time for you to make people accountable, and no harm to put a fine policy in that context, for better enforcement. But sometimes we motivate people positively and we try to convince them, but if we are unable to convince and they are not being convinced, then the fine policy would be another motivation. So choice is yours. I'm just sharing some experience here, okay? So the controls we can't implement until we have complete evaluation, and once the controls are defined, make sure you implement them properly, and there must be a periodic review. This is the process of fire risk assessment. And this is how you will find the areas like major, moderate, medium, high. So it's all, every company have a different magnitude, like, might be they will give 1 to 5 numbers. So 5 multiply 5, if risk is coming 25, so they will put in high. So that's all your safety department would be doing, all these things. But make sure whichever area you are mostly concerned about fire incidents, ask your safety department, can you share with me the fire risk assessment of that particular area? That should be your interest, since you are going to be the firefighter. So make sure you understand the sensitivities of each area. So there is a likelihood, consequences, very likely, unlikely, or highly likely. So once we do fire risk assessment, definitely we get the rating like low, medium, and high. And of course, if it is high, more fatalities, more major injuries could be possible, even minor injuries. But that risk assessment already must be there. Otherwise, if you are the one going to do it, make sure you have fire risk assessment separate training as a fire risk assessor. This is the separate training session, and the detailed one. But here I'm just giving an overview. Whichever area you are concerned, just ask your safety department, can you share with me the fire risk assessment of that particular area? Then you would have better understanding. So how we can put some controls? There is a hierarchy like elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, PPs. Like if you're using solvent based paint and it's extremely flammable, eliminate and find out a substitution, have another paint, water based, which is non-flammable or very less flammable. So in that context, what you are doing, you are eliminating the extremely flammable materials and bringing some materials with zero flammability. Otherwise, you start implementing engineering controls, administrative controls, and PPs. And engineering controls, this elimination and substitution, we can put them under engineering also. But Sometime we overhauling, we just remove some of the parts, we make sure the right maintenance of our tools and equipment. And what we are doing, we are minimizing the chances of fire incidents also. Otherwise, we rely on the administrative control. We give trainings, we have complete different checklists, we have warning signs, we give proper trainings, toolbox meetings, induction programs. So all comes under administrative controls. And ultimately, the last solution is the PPs, but I would say the appropriate suitable PPs, personal protective equipment. Okay. So these are some of the the parts we have, like as a fire safety system. Make sure you have smoke or heat detectors, break glass, manual call point, sub alarm panel, exit staircase, so easily you can go to the muster point, exit door, sprinkler, corridor, lobby, staircase, escape route, hose reel, and extinguisher. Now, this kind of evacuation map, no harm to put in every area, but generally it's not like sometime the plan is not updated. Now you go back and see the fire evacuation map, whatever is displayed through the safety department, it is fully updated and it is in line with our current, the layout of our building or our site or our shop floor. Sometimes you are bringing so many or creating so many new areas, but this plan is not updated. Okay, so you can have a look into it, and no harm to have a fire evacuation drill and note down the time, within how many minutes, within how many seconds the people are coming outside the site or the building and going to the muster point or assembly area. So it's kind of some practical demonstration. Whenever you would have fire drills or fire evacuation drills, collaborate everything and train your each individual. And for that reason, we sometimes companies call us for this as a third party, uh, just as a watcher, just as a silent observer, and making sure that you guys are following the right set of procedure. And we will give report either it's a successful fire drill or unsuccessful, with along with some corrective preventive action. So fire evacuation procedures, make sure it is well displayed. All assembly areas, exit signs, first aid kit, fire extinguisher. Okay, the race, even what the fire warden will be doing, the first person noticing what he gonna do. It's up to you. Like what type of emergency procedure you need to display. If you'll be writing long stories, like if a emergency procedure is having 30 pages, surely nobody would get time to study everything, every word. But if you have a smart approach and creating a flow chart or pictorial based or somewhat like you have an example of this emergency procedure right in front of the slide, so it's up to you, but it should be displayed and continue learning opportunity for your employees, because fire means no more second chance. So make sure this system is well working, and your third party company is coming, this third party fire fighting or fire inspection contracting company, they are coming and they are reporting you with official documentation. Just make sure they are not playing with. Just make sure they are reporting genuinely. Like if you have 25 detectors and they are reporting that all 25 detectors are fully active, tell somebody from your company side to test maybe one or two or random, because sometimes they just come and put the, that everything is okay and giving you the letter, and you are also happy because you can show this letter to the authorities that our firefighting system is fully active, but in fact it's not. So the fake documentation or just fulfilling customer requirements, this type of mindset can never stop any sort of incidents, including fire incidents. Okay, so that is why it's a teamwork. If somebody is coming from outside, our job is to take the right output from their side, get maximum advantage. Don't let them play. If they will judge, You simply damn care, so they will also damn care. They will come and report, and you are happy with that piece of paper. But in fact, the system is not going to respond, God forbid, in case of any fire incident. Because might be the fire hose is not working, might be the water, sufficient water is not there in the pipeline, might be, you know, the detectors are not sensing properly because they didn't test. Might be the sprinklers are not in active position because less water, the sufficient pressure is not there, and they didn't test. But in report, everything is okay, okay, okay. Don't accept that 100% okay reports, guys. Don't accept blindly. Either they are third-party inspection companies for the equipments, like for your heavy equipments or lifting gears or whatever. Don't accept any report blindly. If they're coming for fire inspections, make sure their report is genuine, not the fake one. Fake one means 100% takes. How come in a company 100%? 100% is only Allah, right? Otherwise, the biggest room in the world is the room for further improvement. So you should not miss that chance to improve further. So motivate your contractors. We need genuine reports. Come and watch, observe, and give us genuine reports, because it's a fire, hard to get second chance. And this company would be safe if you will accept all okay reports. They will say, look, when we tested, everything was okay. Later on, they couldn't manage. So you are making them safe legally also, but putting yourself in danger, you know. I hope you will think in a bigger perspective now. Whoever contractor is coming, whoever, just make sure you are getting, like one more example, the third party contracting employees, you know, the indirect employees and the direct employees of your company. The behavior would be like this. Your employees would be more responsible, contracting employee, they will not, because they know they came only for 1 week or maybe 1 month or maybe 6 months, and later on the company will sell their services to another project. I hope you got the point. So you have to be very much careful, even for the subcontracting employees. You know, the manpower supplying companies, they are sending safety officers, they are sending safety inspectors, supervisors, even, you know, the manpower like the labor employees. Make sure they are the right person for the right job. They have to be efficient enough, you know. And if you get excellent services from your third party companies, you are supporting excellently to your business operations. And this is how you create business excellence management system actually for your business continuity and making optimize your all processes every day. So I hope it will help, inshallah. This is another, make sure all things, whatever company you hired as a contracting company, they are coming and they're checking the complete system, but not giving you the wrong report. Ask them, we need genuine report. If something need to be changed, buy the new one and tell them to change. But don't give us just okay, okay, okay. So this would also help, like such tag you can put on notice boards. This continue reminder, like APC powder, can be used for 4 different types of fires. That is why you will see mostly, especially in the offices, mostly in the manufacturing companies, even this fire extinguisher. We call it multi-purpose. No harm to have some understanding where we have discharge lever, where we have pressure gauge. You know, if the needle is in the green zone, means it's all okay. But if it is in red, that means you have to refill. You have a discharge hose. Data plate should be here. The body test, maybe after 3 years, we test the body of this fire extinguisher. These are some of the technical things. Of course, your safety department would be taking care of it. Okay. And remember the pass. Pull the pin, aim the extinguisher hose, squeeze and sweep. How to use fire extinguisher. Remember this one also, important slide. you can display, you can take a screenshot, maybe it's all available on Google also. You find out several information, but make sure you display them, and your employees should also understand you. So that was all about the firefighting. So from my side, any question, anything you have in your mind, your questions are more than welcome. Okay, and after 15 minutes, we'll start the second session related to electrical safety.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so after 15 minutes means 11:50, we'll start electrical safety, and around 12 we'll finish that one, 45 minutes. But bear in mind, then after lunch, we'll come back for 1 hour at least to cover other two topics. Okay, working at height and rigging and lifting, in other words, or hoisting and lifting. Okay. Okay, guys.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank
We'll
you.
be there.
So nice, sir.
Thank you.